Welcome. This episode contains an introduction, an interview so you can gain deeper understanding of the subject from spirit level, and the most important part for catalyzing change, a group frequency calibration to help begin to clear the distortion patterns around this topic. Enjoy.
Hi everyone, this is Karen Cheong. People ask me all sorts of questions about how things work, how our reality is created, etc. And there are definitely some that I get a lot from people who consider themselves to be on a path of awakening. Questions like, where am I on the journey? How do I know how I'm doing? How much further do I have to go, and how can I accelerate the process? So today, instead of me answering those questions, I thought it'd be helpful if you heard someone else's experience whose journey has been very accelerated over a pretty short time. Because often someone else's story can give context to our own. Today I'm interviewing Tia Hendrickson, who's had a pretty amazing journey so far. Your own journey will of course be different, but her story is both interesting and will likely give you some perspective on your own path. And on top of that, Tia's just fun to talk with. After our discussion, we'll get to the most important part of this episode, the group frequency calibration. This is where the frequency work happens and where change actually occurs, so be sure to listen to that. Without releasing distortion patterns, the change you want will be so much more challenging to attain. So let's jump right in. Hi, Tia.
Hi.
I'm really excited to have you on this episode because I think your story is really going to help give a lot of context for a lot of people.
Thank you. Excited to be here.
Yeah. So I thought I would just start with some questions that I have for you.
Okay.
All right. So can you begin by telling us a little bit about yourself?
So I was born kind of moving a lot. So this is always an interesting question to answer. Born in California, moved to Arizona, Pennsylvania, Florida, Colorado, back to some of those places, and then here in Hawaii.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. My mom liked to get married.
Okay.
That's how I answered. That's why we moved. I'm a mother.
Okay.
And I have an amazing partner, and I'm an acupuncturist living on the Big Island. I started frequency work actually right before I was pregnant. So my girl is 1 now, Pepper. So a little over a year then. Wow, time flies. Crazy. So I started just like here and there, and then now where I am is I listen every single night, sometimes multiple times a night.
Wow.
So it went from every now and then to multiple times because I see the value of it like in my life right away. I moved to the Big Island to do acupuncture. So I worked at a rehab for, it's a non-12-step rehab. That's the easiest way to describe it.
Okay.
And that's actually what brought me to the island. So I was very interested in addiction, recovery, because I myself went through some addiction issues. Okay. So before the frequency work, I was definitely healing still from some of these past things, some really dark, rough things that I went through. But, out of them, I would say. And, still just kind of noticing insecurities, low self-worth stuff, people-pleasing, things like that. That's who I was. But still always wanting to grow, learn, challenge myself.
Yeah.
That's kind of
we're really curious.
Yes.
That was one of your main character traits I noticed about you when we first met.
Very curious,
and you were one of my acupuncturists. That's how we met.
Yes.
Yes. Cool. Well, thank you for sharing that.
Yes.
So you found frequency work sort of by accident, right? Because we had met.
Yes.
So how did you, was it just because Jenny had mentioned it, or how did you know that I did frequency work? Like, how did you find frequency work?
Yeah, here's what it was. I was trying to think of this too. It started because Jenny, the other acupuncturist, she was like, whoa, this girl Karen came in to my office and, told me about some wild stuff. And I'm like, oh, that's cool. So that kind of planted the seed. And then she had a session with you and had like this detox where she just got really tired for a couple of days and like all this cool stuff happened to her. And I was like, ooh, I want that. Tell me more about that. And she's like, well, she's really hard to get in with, but here's her, podcast and stuff. So then I think that's how it started. I started doing your free podcasts which I still do to this day. They're really amazing.
Yeah.
So, I would listen every now and then to a topic that seemed interesting.
So what happened, from my recollection anyway, is that we were in the treatment room, and there was something coming up with you. I think you asked me a question. I believe my answer was, let's just work. Do you have an extra 5 minutes?
Okay.
And I think that's when it began.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I think that was
yes,
the
I
first
think you're right. Yeah.
hands-on. Yeah. Okay. And how did you recognize that you wanted to do frequency work?
I think it was listening to one of your podcasts. It just really resonated with me. Like, I have a little meter, a bullshit meter, kind of. And some people are all talk, they're like, oh, we can do these amazing, there's a million healers out there. How do you know? So I would say my internal compass is really strong. And so I was like, yes, this is something I want to do. And then I started seeing the results like immediately. So
can you share what some of those
results
results
really
were?
Cool. Oh yeah, where do I start? Like from the first?
Yeah, from the first one.
Okay. Well, the first one that's popping up. I don't know if this is chronological.
Doesn't matter.
So I was actually about to have Pepper a month early. I was like being medevaced to Oahu, and we had a session planned. So I wasn't able to be on the phone because I was being medevaced. So you're like, it's okay, I can work on you even when you're not present on the phone. And you told me later, by the way, like a week later or whatever it was, that you had removed a bunch of fear. And I had zero fear going into my pregnancy. And this was a very scary thing to some people, like being medevaced on a tiny plane. I'm like, oh, that beautiful sunset. Like, I was just like totally fine. I'm not drugged or anything. I was just like, just not scared.
Yeah.
I didn't cry once during the crazy labor story, which I won't get into now. But even my partner, Blake, was like, laughs about how I was more concerned with him being cold than me going through these crazy contractions that were like double. So I didn't even get a break. It was just like 2 and then break and then 2 long ones and then break. Yeah, and no drug. Eventually I had drugs. But anyway, the point is no fear.
Yeah.
Zero.
Yeah. And
literally none.
And was fear something you'd struggled with before?
Not like some people I know, but something like that for sure.
Yeah.
Like a situation that I've never been through that has to do with pain.
Yeah.
That would have been scary. But no, I was like totally like badass woman. So thank you for that.
You're welcome.
That was one of the things.
Yeah, and she also, so Pepper, as Tia was mentioning, we were supposed to have a session, but we didn't because you were being medevaced.
Yeah.
And I think we were texting, so I was like, where are you?
Yeah.
You're like, I'm in the hospital. And I think with Pepper, what I did was I was working on her because she's what I call one of the new consciousness kids. And you didn't know this because you were being medevaced. And what I was working with her was that for her to it was beneficial for her to leave your body now. Because as opposed to like hang out in there, because I knew that they were going to put a whole bunch of drugs into you. Yeah. Okay, I was like, I'm not a doctor, so I was like, but I'm pretty sure they're going to try and induce you.
Yep.
Or something, or like cut you open or something.
Yep. They wanted a C-section. I'm like, they're constantly trying to C-section. I'm like, no, wait, and I waited, and it worked out.
Perfect.
To not do that. Yeah.
And with her, she wasn't, because she's a new consciousness kid. She hasn't been in incarnation very much before, and so she didn't really understand that might happen. And so when I was working on her, I was communicating with her and telling her, they're going to put this into your mother's body, and this is the impact on you. I wasn't trying to scare her. I just wanted her to understand.
Right.
So she would understand, like natural birth herself out. I was like, natural eject yourself out of it. Because if not, they're going to cut your mom open, or there's going to be a lot of drugs, and it's going to enter you.
Yep.
And it's not like I'm talking to her like the way I'm talking to you now. It's just a communication. And amazingly, she was premature by how much?
A month.
And you had natural birth, right? I mean, she came out on her own. Yeah.
Like 3 pushes.
Okay.
Yeah. She was like, I'm out of here. For some reason, I'm done. Yeah.
Done.
And it was right before COVID. It was
it's
perfect.
Wow.
Yeah.
Fascinating timing.
Yeah, it was really cool.
Yeah.
So thanks for that.
Yeah, you're welcome.
So that just shows you don't have to be present.
No.
in that time,
No.
which is really cool.
Yeah, and what's also really cool is with little babies, so children who are like 5 or less, the change that happens with them is really fast because they don't have the same binding, they don't have the same distortion that we have as adults. So it's easier for them to shift. She's still she was still in the womb at the time.
Right.
So embodiment is still something brand new for her. So she doesn't have all the distortion around that. So it's faster. They can change really quick.
Yeah, well, really I play them for her, which I told you.
Really?
Yeah, and she'll fall asleep just like me. And sometimes I'll wake up for part of it and she'll still be asleep, but she'll consistently sometimes after you go and you clear the thing, she'll shake.
Oh, really?
She'll do like this in her sleep, just like a little thing. I'm like, okay, she's done that way too many times now to be coincidence. So so play it for your animals, your pets.
Yeah, and it's funny because you mentioned animals, because a lot of times when I give sessions, people's animals will come into the room. They won't be anywhere near the person. Yeah. And then all of a sudden the frequency work will start, and then all of a sudden I can hear mewling in the background, or I can hear a dog, heavy breathing. I'm I'm pretty sure it's not the person.
Yeah. They want to be around that.
Yeah, they want to be around the
frequency. It's a real thing. Just because we can't see it doesn't mean it's not real.
Yeah. Exactly. So they like the frequencies. Cool. So aside from the thing with Pepper, which was pretty awesome.
Yeah.
How did you know frequency work worked for you? Because you're curious, you explore different things. Why did you know that it worked?
Yeah, well, I'm the kind of person that's very aware of my body, mind, spirit. Okay, so it's my job to, literally it's my job to analyze people, not too much with the brain, but with the senses. So I do it with myself too, all the time, constantly. It's just what I'm doing, noticing, oh, I did that and that doesn't. It sounds exhausting, but it's actually it's not.
Yeah.
So
it's more like a loose scan.
Yes. Yeah.
As opposed to a mental checklist.
Yeah. I realized it worked for me because the results were just immediate. So how else can I explain it? We'd have a session, or I'll start with that. So we'd have a session. I'd immediately go into the grocery store. Right after our session, maybe I was in my car, and then I go into the store, and I'm like, whoa, I can just my perception changed immediately. So I'm seeing somebody maybe working at the store who's blah, 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 blah. And usually this is something I'm just remembering, usually I would pull myself in or pull them into me, or there was this enmeshment, and I would hear them, but I would enmesh myself with the person as empathy, and that's not empathy. Yeah. And so after our session, I just realized that more. And I was like, oh, whoa, 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 whoa. And I created space. And I was like, this is my space. Oh my gosh, amazing.
Which is huge for a people pleaser.
Yes. Yeah. Oh yeah. And I felt mean at first. I felt oh, this is mean. But she didn't. Then I realized she didn't care. Yeah. She was doing her thing, and it didn't matter if I meshed with it. Mattered for me. I was the one getting the shit end of the stick kind of a thing. Yeah. She was always going to do her thing. That was her. Yeah. So I was like, oh, I can create space. You could still do your thing. Yeah. And I don't have to enmesh with you. Yeah. So that was literally, I got off the session with you, walked into the store, boom. Yeah. So I didn't just make that up. Yeah. And amazing. And what happened, what you were perceiving, is that it would pull your frequency resonance down. Yes. So it would make you heavy. Yes. And it would make you spiral a bit with her stuff, because you're such a strong empath. Yes. That you would pick up their stuff. Yeah, because I thought that means I'm helping you. Yeah. So that's a huge one for me. I still work with that here and there, but at least now having that awareness, you can't go back. Right. You can't fully go back. You might trip and stumble towards that way, but now that I see it that way, it's there. Yeah. Yeah. So the awareness, you mean? Yeah. Okay. And I think you'd shared with me, so Tia, also one of the amazing things about Tia is you're a really strong creator manifester. Yes. And one of the things that attracted you to this work was creation manifestation. Oh, yeah. That's right. Yeah, you remember. Okay, so I was doing Dr. Joe Dispenza meditations every day. And I was telling you that. And you're like, you can only create manifest so much unless you're running distortion patterns. I'm like, what is that? And you're like, here, let me help you with, And then, I was sitting in a hot tub at my friend's house with Blake and some friends. And I was like, Blake, we gotta live here. I want to live in this neighborhood. It was well, I won't say where it is. It doesn't matter. Really, it had a beautiful view. It was beautiful, yeah. And it's quiet. And I was like, this is what I want. 1 month later, we had, now this is a neighborhood where people custom build their own homes in lots.
Okay.
It's not like you can just rent a room. Like this is not, the house we were at, they had a very special situation. It was a friend of a friend and a temporary thing. So it was like, how did that happen? So we were one house down from that house.
That you'd sat in the hot tub in.
Yeah. And there we were. There 1 month later, we rented a space.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like somehow they were able to do a 2-bedroom kind of thing situation. So
it's a 2-bedroom condo over their garage, right?
Yeah.
So what Tia was mentioning was that, so with creation manifestation, the thing that people don't realize is that if you're running distortion pattern, it doesn't matter how strong creative manifestor you are.
Yeah.
Your distortion patterns will hijack the creation manifestation. Because you're creating manifesting, but the distortion patterns are still running, which then condition the creation that or the manifestation of whatever you're creating. So with Tia, what happened is that we worked on releasing the distortion around creation manifestation. And then literally, like within a month, she's living, like I said, like what she was saying, it's kind of amazing because there are no rentals usually in that neighborhood.
No.
And it's a very high-end neighborhood. And it was a rent that was really affordable, if I remember correctly.
Yep. Yeah.
Which is kind of amazing.
Yeah, the only little thing is it didn't have an oven.
You forgot to include that.
I'm like, oh, darn it. No, but then they actually ended up buying us this little mini oven. It's like for code, it couldn't have an oven or whatever.
Right.
And then we put it right on our little lanai thing. So it all worked out.
So you had an oven
Yeah,
later.
I had an oven later. That's awesome. An outdoor oven, which is even better than an indoor.
Yeah. And then you also have had really good success with abundance. I remember you were telling me this one crazy thing where you listened to GFC. I don't remember the story, but it was.
Yeah, I actually purchased a deep dive on financial abundance. And so I listened to the whole thing. I think I listened. It was really powerful for me. You can tell when you're like, oh, I need this one. And so I listened to the whole thing twice.
Okay.
And the very next day from the last one I listened to, we were receiving food stamps over COVID because we weren't working. And so once we started working again, we told them, and they're like, okay, you're no longer going to be receiving. I'm like, that's fine.
Yeah, because you're making money now.
Yeah, and I was like, I was grateful for that. Well, now the account, they just keep putting more money in, more money than we had before. It was just like, boom, boom. We have thousands of dollars in my food stamp account. I'm not going to say anything. I'm like, okay. It was like right after that GFC.
Yeah.
Then I got like a check in the mail randomly. Then I listened to, so there's like 3 in a deep dive, right?
Yeah.
So I listened to like one of them for the 3rd time. The very next day, the timing is just impeccable. The very next day, we were offered to stay at our place another year, which is a different place than that, which we won't get into that now, but it's even more amazing.
Yeah. So what Tia's talking about is that through circumstance, this is how frequency work works. It's not necessarily linear.
Yeah.
That's the magic of it. It's non-linear. So through a friend of her partner's, they have a spectacular home.
Multi-million-dollar property.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And their guest cottage is guest cottage is how big? It's like
3 bedrooms.
It's 3 bedrooms.
Vaulted ceilings, huge.
Yeah. On
huge lanai overlooking the water.
And like beautifully landscaped.
Yeah.
So
sheep and everything.
Yeah, exactly. And so they live in the guest cottage.
Yeah. Which was supposed to be 3 months, then it turned into 10, and then right after that GFC, it was another year. They decided to gift us that.
Yeah.
And we're just like, what?
Yeah, which is amazing because what people don't know maybe from the mainland is it's really hard to get rentals on the island.
Yes.
Very, very difficult.
Yep. And everything's very stinky and moldy and
decrepit
and really nasty.
And it's expensive.
And very expensive,
Yeah, and because the thing is on the island, most of the rentals that are nice are vacation rentals because people make more money that way. So it's really hard to find a rental that's nice. Not to mention like this palatial guest suite.
Oh yeah, amazing. Yeah. And that's what is more important when you have a family than a nest, right? So it's like, thank you.
So how is your life different, or how has it changed, or what changes have you noticed?
Well, aside from the ones I've mentioned, like on the day-to-day, I guess the main thing that's changed is I feel much more aware of when I'm maybe off my center. When I get off center, how I get off center. And the second biggest thing would be I feel like, like this is called embodied
acceleration.
Yeah. So I feel like I've really embodied the work. So I'm a human. I'm always going to, we're going to mess up still. I'm going to get angry about something, whatever. But for the most part, like once you see the world this way through frequency work, that whole rendering thing you explained, I think it was episode 97. Very valuable episode. You pretty much explained life in like 20 minutes. I was like, wow, that's really good. Yeah. So that whole concept from that podcast is pretty much, I would say, the biggest shift for me is knowing it.
Okay.
I feel it and I know it. Just having that knowing that like we're a rendering. It's not as serious as, for me, it lightens the mood a bit. And I think that's been the biggest takeaway.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I feel it. It's not just a mental concept. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's a knowingness.
Yep.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
What have others noticed about you? So like Blake or friends or whatever, or your mom?
Yeah. Well, the main thing people are noticing, because it's the easiest thing to notice, is like our place, and how, like the things that we have.
Okay.
That's the easiest thing, of course, for anyone to notice first.
Thing.
So everybody notices that.
Yeah.
They're like, wow, you guys are so awesome. So lucky, so whatever. And I think the other thing is our state of being, I have friends, even who don't live on island, who just can like feel it over the phone, or
that's awesome.
And who are in a really dark place, and they're like, wow, how do you do that, whatever. And I share this with them, so that's been happening a lot, especially because of what's going on in the world.
Yep.
Like it's very clear, especially now, how important this work is, because there's people who are really spinning in their own crap, and it's really hard to like, it's like they're like sinking in a hole. And Blake and I are like, wow, we've actually never been better.
Right.
We've never been better in our lives right now.
Yeah.
So people notice that, especially in this time.
Because it's so stark.
Yes.
It's becoming much more stark.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. What is different in the people around you? Have you noticed that?
Well, it depends on the people. Do you mean what is different in them through my new eyes kind of a thing?
Yeah, or have they changed? Have the people around you changed?
Who
have stayed, or are they different?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked that. Yeah, we've actually had like friends and other people just drop out of our lives, like gone.
Yeah.
And then like new higher vibrating people coming in.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and I'm not just saying that literally.
Yeah.
It's just been, so that's been a main thing I've noticed.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. And how do you know they're higher in resonance, other than how they feel to you?
Other than how they feel.
Yeah, but they just feel really good to you?
Oh, yeah. And I don't know, they're positive people. Like they're people that are connected to spirit. So and you can see it in their lives just like us. Like, oh wow, like anything you need shows up for you. That's when you're in that flow. Yeah. And you're a happy person and you're a good person, Yeah. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
And then what was the turn for you? You've mentioned that phrase to me before. There was like a turn. Yeah. And what did you mean by that? And
I said I felt like I literally turned a corner. I think that to me meant that like I really embodied the work and really embodied like the idea that the world that we're looking at isn't what we think it is. That's the turn. Yeah. Like, oh, like I always got it. Yeah, okay, that makes sense. But like, I really get it now. So things that once would bother me, on a bad day, they bother me for 30 seconds versus like, weeks or something. Right. Yeah, because of that. Yeah. Turning of the corner. Point. And I think that's something that doesn't just happen through reading and memorizing and it has to be the frequency.
Yeah, it's your own resonance.
Yeah.
That's what's making it different. And that's why it can't be taken from you, because it's embodied. Right. It's just, it is you now. Right. Which is really, I think, totally awesome.
So cool.
Is there anything you'd say to yourself when you first began that you wished you'd known?
Well, this is small, but I would say there was a podcast you talked about, I think, detox and water. So that's really true, actually. I've noticed that to be true. Like drinking more water and going in the water more. I'm trying to immerse myself in water more. It's very hard for me. Like I'd much rather do hot Pilates, something hot or on the land, So actually being in the water more, I did notice a big difference. Because remember, I'm doing these every night. Like I can tell when I'm in the water and drinking more water, how much more beneficial it is.
Yes. Meaning it processes out your detox
faster.
Yes.
Yeah,
it helps you to integrate.
Yeah.
Okay.
Integration.
Yeah.
And then I guess, what else would I say? Good job, Tia.
That's awesome for you, because you wouldn't have said that to yourself before.
Nope.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
That's awesome.
Oh yeah, this is another thing I wanted to mention if we have time. Like you have said before, getting acupuncture or massage or whatever your thing is to help integrate the frequency work is really helpful too. Network chiropractic, whatever. Because I did like a ton of frequency work, then I got acupuncture, and then it like solidified exactly the frequency work I was doing. And it just hit me one day. I told you this. I was like, oh, I'm valuable. Like, I've been working on that since I was 13. Like, come on. It literally, I was just sitting there and it just hit me like a ton of bricks. And I was like, oh, it was just mindless. So it can hit you like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Like the realization.
Yes. And it wasn't like I'm better than anyone. It wasn't in comparison to anyone. It was just, oh, I'm valuable.
Yeah.
I have quality and value. And I was like, oh.
That's amazing.
Okay.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's a game changer.
Yes, huge. That was also corner turning stuff. Yeah.
And so my last question for you is, what are you excited about? Or what are you excited for?
Ooh, what am I excited for? Well, I'm excited for continuing this work and being able to possibly help people with it in some kind of way, like maybe intertwine it with acupuncture. Jenny and I were even talking about like playing your frequency stuff during treatments, but I'm excited for the next level, to up level what I'm already doing.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the thing I'll say about that is, because you're doing frequency work, it clarifies and raises the resonance of the work that you give. Meaning, so you give 5 elements acupuncture, just for everyone to know. And so, because your resonance is rising through the frequency work, what will evolve through 5 elements, that modality will shift and up level.
Okay.
Because it's within you.
I've already noticed that. Yeah. And I also do plant spirit medicine, and I've noticed that being like amplified.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Great.
So that's exciting.
Very exciting.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Tia, for sharing your story.
Karen. Love it. Thank you.
For those of you who are new or about to start the group frequency calibration, this is the most important part of this episode because it's where we actually do the frequency work and where change is catalyzed. So I invite you to settle in and get comfortable. You can sit, stand, or lie down, or if you prefer to walk around slowly, you could even do that too. If during the GFC you find that you start falling asleep, even if you didn't feel tired when you started, just let yourself drift off. It just means the frequencies are really high for you, and you are going into a sleep state to integrate them more efficiently. If this happens, it's good to listen to the GFC portion again a few times until you can stay awake for the whole thing. That's how you'll know you've integrated those higher resonating frequencies. Because I'm working on the frequency level, these GFCs are not like regular meditations. And many people find that they go into varying degrees of altered state. If you happen to be listening to the audio version of this episode, please definitely do not drive while listening to this. Okay, here we go. Welcome everyone to the group frequency calibration for embodied momentum. Just as a note before we begin this GFC, you'll never go faster than you can handle because this is dictated by your higher self. However, you can have more momentum, and this GFC will help you with that. Okay? becoming aware, please, of your body. And as you become aware of your body, becoming aware of the soles of your feet, what they are touching, whether they are warm or cold. Good. And now please become aware of your weight as it settles into whatever is supporting you. Noticing if you're holding tension anywhere or if you can ease completely into whatever is supporting you. Noticing your weight. Good. Yeah. Now please become aware of your breath. And as you become aware of your breath, please notice your breath without changing it. Just notice it as it is in this moment. And then when you're ready, using or taking this opportunity to deepen your breath, to allow it to become more full, feeling both your front body of your chest, the side body, and also your back body. Allowing your breath to become more round, more spherical. Noticing if you can drop your breath further into your body, perhaps even deep into your belly. Good. And now please notice your surroundings. Becoming aware of the air, noticing whether it's heavy with precipitation coming, whether it's light and dry, temperature, whether it's softly moving because of a heater or a fan, depending on where you are in the world. Now please notice the smells. The ones further away from you that are very faint, that you can still discern, and the ones much closer to you. Good. And now, either with eyes open or closed, please triangulate. For those of you who are new, triangulating means to become aware of 3 inanimate objects in the space around you. What those inanimate objects are is not important. And then noticing the distance between the object and you. So for example, if the dresser is about 7.5 feet away from you, noticing the distance between the dresser and you, and then feeling the distance between the dresser and you. And then please do this for objects B and C. And as you do this, your sense of where you are in space will become more clear, more firm, more present for you. Good. And if you're faster at triangulating, because you have more experience, bringing your attention now to your xiphoid process at the base of your sternum. Your sternum is that big, thick bone in the center of your chest, where your ribs meet in front of your body. Your xiphoid process is right at the base. So if you were to trace that bone to the bottom of it, and then where it goes from bone to flesh, that fleshy point that's a little bit tender when you press on it, that's your xiphoid process. Becoming aware of that, please, as we take one nice big breath in, holding your breath at the top of your breath for a count of 4. And when you are ready and have completed that hold, you're going to exhale with the speed and intensity you prefer, holding your breath out for a count of 6. Good. Breathing normally when you've completed that single breath. While we wait for the mastermind to coalesce and become coherent. For those of you who are new, please note that I'm working on you at the group and the subgroup level. Yeah. And that I work often in silence. So if you don't hear me, I'm still working on you. But when I work on very, very high frequencies, it does not benefit you for me to make physical noise because it just lowers the frequency resonance, which ultimately doesn't serve you. I also do make physical noise occasionally. You might hear me hum or yawn or exhale sharply. And it's typically when I'm removing distortion patterns that are much lower in resonance or which are stickier. Also, if I say something that really resonates with you, it's likely yours. And if I say something that you very much resist, it's also likely yours. So I encourage you to remain open and explore further. There's the mastermind. Yep. So now the mastermind has coalesced. Keeping your attention on that same spot, we're going to ask ourselves the question, how can I become even more aware of my connection only to pure source? That question again is, how can I become even more aware of my connection only to pure source? And as you ask yourself that question, please imagine, sense, feel, or become aware of the space at the very center of your body. You may notice that as you become aware or imagine this space of how vast it is,
And now please imagine or become aware of a brilliance at the very center of this space that you either see or feel. And that brilliance intensifies because you have your awareness or attention on it. And as it intensifies, it expands outwards through all of your cells, through your organs, out through your bones, your flesh and your muscles, out through the pores of your skin, into the space between your physical body and the outer perimeter of your spirit body, which is a sphere at arm's length all around you. Yeah. Please become aware of the brilliance within the sphere. And now please become aware or imagine the space all around the sphere. And as you become aware of this infinite space, I'm working on you at spirit level to increase your frequency resonance, irrespective of where your resonance began. The higher your frequency resonance, the more effective the session, the more momentum you have, the faster your integration. Your frequency resonance dictates basically everything. This is one of the most important things we do. Yeah. Good. Bringing your attention now, please, to your heart space in the center of your chest and your nipple line. Releasing first patterns of control. Okay. Whether you control or are controlled, this has to do with control over your own momentum. So although you may want change or yearn for something different. There's this polarizing or polarized distortion of control and the underlying pattern of fear, which prevents you from having the change you want. The fear is of the momentum and also the change itself, because what will it mean when you have it? Everything can change. And there's the fear of the loss of stability in what is known. Releasing all this out of the heart space. Becoming aware of your right shoulder blade on the back side of your body. Yeah. And the ribs just beneath it. So this is being attached to what you think you want. So you want momentum and you want change, but you want it to look a certain way or be a certain way. So we're going to release this because it's very narrow and it's informed by your mind and your distortion patterns. So when we release this kind of control pattern, we can then enter a more surrendered state. And then that is when more magic, synchronicities, opportunity, that type of thing can happen at a much faster rate. Releasing this distortion. Good. Becoming aware now, please, of the lower back from the tip of the tailbone all the way up to about your waist. Okay? Yep. Lower back. That's right. So this has to do with holding on to things. Okay? There's a number of you that really hold on to stuff. And even though you want change, you also want to hold on to what you have or you are or you experience. You can't have both. You have to choose. So releasing this so that you have the opportunity or even the option for that change. Yeah. Amplifying adaptability. And also releasing this distrust in time. Okay? You don't trust the unfolding. So releasing this, you want to control it and know what it looks like. So let's release this. Good. Bring your attention to your xiphoid process and about 3 inches just beneath it, or 7 centimeters directly beneath it, in a straight line towards your belly button. Clearing out your pain body for just a couple of seconds. Your pain body has a memory of you before the distortions have been removed, so it makes it harder to integrate work if you're fighting against your pain body. So this helps smooth things out. Good.
This brings us to the end of this session. I look forward to working with you on the next GFC. It's my sincere hope that you benefit profoundly from this series, which is why I spend so much of my time and personal resources creating these as my gift to the world. If the topic of this GFC resonates with you, it's very likely that more work than can be provided in this one GFC is needed to clear or loosen deeply held distortion patterns in areas that are sticky. Because these patterns are like layers of an onion, there are usually multiple layers to individual topics. Depending on how much of a challenge this topic is for you, it may make sense for you to go deeper than what this one session allows. If you feel like this is the case for you, please visit Spherical Luminosity for more targeted support.